Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? Gonna do a brief show, really brief, maybe 30 minutes. I was just pondering and musing about things this morning and decided to turn a recorder to it. I do believe that I know what's wrong with humanity, and it's actually a fairly easy fix. Even though it's not easy at all, I'm not sure how to accomplish this. But we don't know who we are, is what the problem is, and we don't quite understand how to operate our own equipment. And we've got a couple of paradigms off in our consciousness, in our thinking strata. We've lined a couple of things up, not the way they actually are. And so, because of that, our thought patterns are out of alignment with what the great mind is thinking. When we imagine that it is an us versus them world, we are off kilter because we are out of alignment, because that is not what the universe is cooperative. It's co-creative. It's unified. It's not at each other's throats. Not ultimately. There's a little bit of that playing out at the surface level, but it's not because the whole field is operating that way. It's because there's a bit of competition going on at the surface, but ultimately the full pattern is playing cooperatively. And when we, and I'm not even just talking about our relationship with between humanity and, say, the animal kingdom and the biological world, the rest of life on planet Earth. Let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about the relationship between human beings. It really isn't an us versus them, and we need to be conceiving it in our physical minds. We need to be thinking of it as there is no us and them. There is no us and them. There is only us and what we all need in order to move forward. And what is the object of the exercise? The laying out the structure, the software structure within your thinking mind, within your consciousness, within your hardware. I don't even know how to use, I'm not sure what your words to use. But you set up your own consciousness. It's laid out in a particular way. And you have some choices about what to believe and how to line it up. And you can line it up. So you can allow your thinking mind to line up with your broader perspective. You can allow it to do that. Now, when you try to make it do it, that's probably when you have problems. But allowing it to line up, knowing that there is an alignment that can happen between your intuitive and and the rational mind, between your intuitive mind and your rational mind. Your rational mind is your physical mind, your computer mind. You have a really good computer mind. It's actually quite perfect in a way, but you set it up. And we're gonna discuss right now a couple of the elements of the setup. Things like, what are your primary assumptions? Primary assumptions about the nature of the world and the nature of yourself. Those are the two vantage points, right? Me and everybody else and everything beyond me. So there's me and everything, and me plus everything else. Actually, it's not me and everything else, because everything else still includes me. I am part of everything. So there's me and everything including me. Those are the two vantage points. This is actually really important. Those are the two vantage points you've got to consider when you're pondering all of this. Now, I trust that there's going to be a lot of wisdom teachers coming from other directions that are going to arrive at this place from a different angle. They're going to have come in from their experiential lives and from their feeling places. And I'm actually not, my specialty is not necessarily helping people from the darkness into the light. It's more like, okay, now you're here. Let's talk about the configuration here, because it's really interesting. How we are set up, who we are, how our thinking minds and how our intuitive and rational minds actually play with one another, how they work with one another, how they support one another, how they shore one another up, which is just another way of saying support one another. But so it goes to the question, who am I? Because isn't that the name of the show? Who am I? It's all about who am I? Because I think that our misunderstandings of our own nature is what's causing all the problems that we've got on planet Earth. Everything from ecological destruction to social unrest to systems that are not in alignment with who we are and in alignment with what we need going forward. It's not in alignment with all of us, maybe just a few of the rich. It's stratified, or there's issues. All of our problems are coming from that. They're coming from us not knowing who we are, and then not lining our systems up properly, not building them correctly in the first place. They should be very egalitarian and not for mamby-pamby reasons. The thing is we are all one being. But the egalitarian aspect is more equality of opportunity and making sure that all of the things that we build are nice for everyone, from the poor all the way up to the rich, and all the way to the richest of the rich. And let's forget about the poorest of the poor. Actually, I think that we are heading for a place where very soon, I'm hoping I see it in my lifetime, because once it takes hold, an estimation I heard, it could take as little as 20 years for global poverty to go away. And what we need here is a new injection of energy. And it's going to come from us plugging into source energy. Us actually coming to the place where we understand 0 point energy and we're plugging into it, instead of this nonsense freaking fossil fuel that we don't need to keep doing. You know, and electric cars are stupid too. And let's please not turn the infrastructure of the United States into, Tesla stations. Tesla companies making Teslas, making electric cars and electric batteries, and having, stations where everybody charges their cars. Let's not do that. Let's go straight to designing cars that plug directly into source. And how do we do that? Well, plug directly into the 0-point energy field. How do you do that? Well, let's open up the vaults, because I think that there has been things that have happened that have been covered up, that have been hidden from us, that we didn't know how cool this was. That's actually the kind of hidden secrets that we should be spreading around. Not, oh my God, did you hear this horrible thing that's going on? Oh my God, everybody needs to know this horrible thing that's happening. No, let's don't spread those. Let's, if it's a horrible thing that's happening, just know that there's lots and lots and lots of horrible, horrible things. This terrible, terrible thing happened. Somebody treated their baby in a terrible way, or, oh my God, somebody this and that, and they ate each other. Or, you could go there. We can go there and talk about stories about, what's underpinning our Western medical paradigm. Oh my God. I could tell you things. But a better story is, oh my God, did you hear about so-and-so and how they healed themselves? And what that implies about the nature of this freaking field that we are all embedded in, that we all are mixed up in. And, that's the better stories to be the recognition of how to heal yourself by getting to the place where it's already done. You aren't healing yourself. You find the frequency where the healing has happened. You're already there. Already happened. It's done. It's done. It's done. That's kind of the way it works. I have a healing I got to work on myself. I got to figure out how to do it. And I want to use my understanding of the universe, and I have a limited understanding of this universe. I talk like I understand all of it. And I don't mean to imply that I do, but I do understand certain aspects of it, and coming from a broader perspective, I do understand that there is no us and them. And us thinking or imagining that there's an us and them, and then framing ourselves within this us and them paradigm, and then taking impulses pinging off of, our assumption that that's the paradigm we're in, that's all causing misalignment. It's all causing misalignment. Misappropriation of impulses are happening because we are misaligned in that way. There is no us and them. There is only us. And every system that we put into place should reflect that. But as long as we are thinking, oh, there's us, the people with money, and the people with substance, and the people who are bathed, and the people who think this way, or this religion, or this color, or whatever, that's us. And then them is these others, and they can have the second class, well, let's build really good stuff for a few people and then kind of crappy stuff for the masses. Well, then you end up with systems that are generally crappy and only slightly good in places for just a few people. And you don't want that, because given a little bit of time, all the people who built it are dead, and now all of the people coming up are left with systems that are mostly crappy, with just a few slots for the haves and mostly the have-nots. Let's build systems for mostly all the people and make them be good for most all of us. And then we can layer strata of exceptional on top of. So let's lay down the groundwork and make it all good, all efficient, and all. We would do that if we did not see it as us and them. When I'm looking at the world like an us and them, and now I have a whole lot of money, Now I'm going to build stuff for me and my rich self and me and my rich friends. But it's just a little tiny piece of it. So it all depends, Am I just working for myself? In which case that's one thing. But am I working with the government, or am I working with large systems creation? I really need my thinking straight if I am working on big systems. If it's implied that I'm working for the big group, then I need to be thinking like the big group. And from that position, I want you to know, in spite of the fact that some people are playing this paradigm this way, and you can catch glimpses of it where it really looks like it's this way, there is no us and them. And that's really important. That's really important. I stand out here in a place, I am in an emotionless abstraction kind of a place. I'm not particularly emotional here. I'm just kind of matter of fact. I don't have a lot of infrastructure around me. There's not a lot of people that follow me. Hardly anybody. I have 60 followers to my channel, and not that many regular listeners. I don't put it out in a way that causes it to be, the rubrics don't pick it up. I don't spend a lot of time picking titles for my show that reflect what I'm really talking about, or any the differences in what I'm talking about. What makes me different than other people? Why would they listen to my YouTube stuff instead of other people? So I don't get a lot of listeners. I'm not giving them a lot of clues as to what I'm talking about and where I am. And I realize that. And I can't be mad about not having many viewers, because I certainly am not giving them very many clues. Now, sometimes I do a live show and I have someone in the United Kingdom who listens to me, and it's delightful. It's fun. It's really fun to have somebody, tagging out there. And I'm sure that's why it's happening, because fun rules the world. Fun rules the universe. And if we could tag into that concept, we would come into our own. We would find our true identity as the playful otters of the universe, which is what human beings most certainly are. Potentially, that's what we are. But we've got to know who we are. We've got to lean that direction. We can be anything that we want to be. We've just got to understand how our thoughts and our focus and our attention is the direction that materiality is following. That's what's becoming in this great rolling manifestation that we are all participating in. And the shape of it is moving. And every given moment, it's rolling. And we are all in this together. It's actually a really, really, really cool. Source energy is the coolest subject ever. And it is my deep belief, my faith, I just feel this in my bones, that leaning into an understanding of who we are and the nature of the universe itself is going to lead directly to a more peaceful planet, a more loving, joyful, happy experience here on planet Earth, amongst ourselves, amongst one another. Peace on Earth is possible. Like I was saying earlier, a possible 20 years before global poverty is erased, because there's no reason for global poverty. It's just that we keep snipping and snapping the threads of the biofield that support us all in our lack of understanding of who we are. But when we get to the point where we go, oh, that's who we are, got it, ooh, that was close, we can start intentionally, co-creatively assisting the biofield to reweave. We can do that. One of the biggest problems that we are, and it will reweave itself. We just need to we need to quit snipping the threads. We need to get out of the way of it repairing itself. We need to allow it to come back. We don't need to make it come back. We need to allow it to come back by understanding who we are and ceasing to do the things that are killing it. And the biggest single thing that we do that is killing the biofield, that is snipping the threads, that is poisoning right and left, is what we do for energy. What we do for energy. Even things like the lithium battery mines, the lithium mines to make lithium batteries. That's sort of a power source issue, because batteries are a stored power source. You don't need to store your power source. And the reason you don't need to store your power source, you just need to figure out how to plug directly into 0 point energy, the 0 point energy field, the great matrix that is binding us to one another, this great energy field that is matrixing us divinely to one another. There are two spins that you are involved in that you need to know about and you need to line up your relationship with. There are two great spins. One is your own individual spin. That's your own individual story. That's the spin you put on it, the meaning you give your own life based on your feelings of identity inside of you and what you line up with outside, how you tell your story, how you focus forward, and how you spin your story from here forward. You got two spins. One is the one that you're spinning with everyone else. There is a source energy spin aspect to you where you are spinning with the rest of the group. We are all in this together. It's that aspect of you. And that's your source energy side, and it is spinning. It is a great spinning field of motion. And we are all, and it's a huge spin. It's so huge of a spin that from that position, it really doesn't look like spin. You look around and you're like, I don't really feel like I'm spinning. It's because we're all spinning together. So you got that one, and then you have your own individual one that plays within that big one. It's a story within a story. Within a story, within a story. It's the greatest story ever told. It's our story. Who are we? It's those two aspects of the question, who am I, who are we? Who am I, who are we? And you have your individual spin, your individual spinning story, and from that position, from that position, there's a thing called divine autonomy, in the sense that insofar as your individual spin can spin on its own, we're still all contained within the great spin. But insofar as, that individual spin that you've got is divinely autonomous. You divinely have the choice of going positive or negative from within yourself. I guess that's the choice you've got. That's the autonomy. And when you because actually the concept of divine autonomy is really much bigger than this. It's sort of a pet one of mine that I throw out from time to time, mostly between me and my daughter, who have come to understand what this really means. Your divine autonomy is absolutely powerful. Powerful, powerful. And it has to do with your own power or ability to guide and steer your own life. Calling the shots, calling the successes, calling the failures, or not. You have the ability to spin your story the way you want your story to be. And if you aren't doing it the way you want it to be, then you're doing it by default, simply by observing what's going on in the world around you. Now, that may be what your problem is, that you haven't taken hold of your divine autonomy and intentionally spun your life and your story in the direction that you want it to be. And so you are banging around in the world in default mode. Default mode can be very painful, especially depending on what's going on around you and what you happen to be observing. Now, in this beautiful world that we live in at the moment, there is plenty of stuff where if you just look at it, if you just gaze at people being nice to each other and how well things are going, and, wow, especially if you're a student of history and you're watching the flow from, hundreds of years ago, through 100 years ago, through 50 years ago, through 10 years ago, through, and do it in a holistic way where you're looking at all of Earth, all of the things that we do and all of the things that we used to do, and how it has moved through time. Especially be a student of war and how awful and terrible and pitiless things can be. Be a student of architecture, outhouses, and then now indoor toilets. I like that one because it really gives you a trajectory of improvement. Things are getting better. Things are getting better for more people than ever before. It used to be that the only people who really played ever were the rich, and all the rest toiled most all the rest of the time and lived in squalor. There was a whole lot of squalor going on. There's still squalor. We still have squalor. We have not eliminated squalor. When I talk about eliminating world poverty in 20 years, we're talking about eliminating squalor for all of us. And you might say, well, what do I care if it's for the rich or for the poor? We're rich. But you know what? When you die, you are not guaranteed coming back as your children or your own grandchildren. You might very well, as a matter of fact, if you spend all of your life building infrastructure for the rich and ignoring the poor, it's very likely you're going to come back as the poor. Just because your inner being knows that you are the whole thing, and if you're ignoring one great big aspect of some really important thing that you need to understand, you're going to come back as that. And so if you've spent your life building infrastructure that is stratified because of, stratified thinking in your own mind, in your own physical mind, that is out of alignment with who we really are and what we're trying to do here, then dollars to donuts, you're coming back as the one that you've left out. Because that's the part you need to understand. It's so logical. It makes so much sense. And as a matter of fact, I would advise, this is a piece of advice, as you build the structure of your own consciousness, as you line it up, you get it into alignment with, you're lining it up. And once you've lined it up, you're either going to be in alignment or you're going to be out of alignment, but you're lining this up. As you line it up, understand things like, there's only one of us here. There is no us and them. We are a wholeness that we seek to understand. The whole matrix is holographic. That's why we are always seeking to understand the wholeness. If it wasn't holographic, there may not be that drive. But it is holographic, and that is so important. You can rest on a matter-of-fact plane of understanding all of this. You don't have to be in the mystical. You don't have to be in the emotional. However, I know that a lot of people come at this from spiritual and emotional places because their own physical lives invokes that. Step one is emotional. Abraham talks about the steps of creation, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 4 is getting good at step 3, and step 5 is being back in step 1 without being mad at yourself. At first, your step 1 moments, you're in step 1 and you're mad about it. Damn! Why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I keep sabotaging myself? I'm so pissed that I'm pissed. But step 5 is you find yourself back in step 1 and you're not mad anymore because you know exactly what's going on. You're like, oops, stepped in it. Not a problem. I know exactly what to do. Source is on it. And I need to get back into my state of allowing, which is just hum-diddy-hum-hum, toes in the sand, feet in the water, taking care of myself, allowing my own natural spirit to come forth and go, I got it. Now I know what I want to do, and I'm headed off to the races with my fun, joyful life. Fun and joyful no matter what. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can have a step 1 moment and break something. Or actually, there's so much possibility. You can go blind and have it be the most exquisite experience of anything, because something else opens up and you get some sort of realization that allows you to fill in a spot for humanity, perhaps. And then something really good comes of that. Wow, exquisite. So I'm acknowledging that no matter what, things can be delightful. You don't have to, it's not conditional. It's not, if I can get this condition in place, then that will support X feeling and then I'll be happy or whatever. It's not like that. You have to find your unconditional place where you realize that you're okay no matter what. Because we're all in this together. And because we're all in this together, it has to be okay no matter what, because I see something going on over there with you that looks pretty awful to me. But we're all in this together, which means you're in this with me too. And it has to be okay from where you are, too. I don't know. I don't know how to put all that together. It's just interesting. We are all in this together. There is no us and them. There is only one of us here. And that paradigm should be invoked every time any government, anybody gets together. When we come together as the we that we are, we should be required to recognize that we are we from that point. And anything that we are doing, it needs to include all of we. It needs to be inclusive. It needs to be diverse, and it needs to be equitable. Isn't it so funny that our current administration is making war on diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's funny because that's the mindset that needs to be invoked whenever government does anything. And if it doesn't think that way, it shouldn't be doing anything. It shouldn't be doing it if it can't think holistically. So, actually, who we are as a government is a really good question, too. Who are we as a nation? When I say I am America, what is that? What would that structure be? Wouldn't it be great? Oh, man, could I design America? Oh, the infrastructure that we should be working on is probably not the infrastructure we're working on. And we're not doing a good job voting on infrastructure and agreeing on things. Oh my goodness. If someone would just hire me for the think tank, boy, could I come up with general ideas that'd be fantastic. Get us all in general alignment with generally who we really are, so that our systems would no longer be so Shiva energy creating. That's another one of my pet ideas. The idea that when we create things, collectively especially, when we create systems, when our systems leave out individuals, when we are not working it as a whole, when we don't think of it as there's only one of us here. And so the systems need to take care of the one of us that is here. And the one of us needs needs food, needs showers, needs to go to the bathroom, needs to sleep places. When we do not take care of all of us, then some of us are left out in the cracks. They're living in the streets, being dirty and disruptive and incoherent because they're not in the rest of the group. When we create systems that don't include all of us, those that are left out become frightened and angry. That is the Shiva energy that starts breaking down, that circles back around and smashes things, either through riots or more formally through war. War really takes the infrastructure down in a quick way, actually. And then when we rebuild on the other side, hopefully we are more in alignment, more and more and more in alignment. Sometimes we are. Actually, I think we always are. The war busts through resistance, and on the other side we are just as an example. Oh, I bet I have to go make breakfast. Yeah, it's already after 7. No, I'm good. Actually, I'm good. I have another 15 minutes or so. I can do this. Go binge watch Downton Abbey and then think about this. About how the societal organization before the war was different than after the war. How it changed. And whether you want to judge how it changed or not, you just got to know it changed. And somewhat for the better. Not everything was for the better, but there were some things that there was resistance to that broke through. Women didn't have much opportunity to be anything other than the roles they were assigned. Servants, the serving class, didn't have much opportunity to be other than the roles they were assigned. Colored people were assigned roles that they couldn't get out of. And we were all sort of, locked in these roles that in our minds, this is who we were. But it isn't who we were. And so there were people who were dissatisfied. Women were dissatisfied. Servants were dissatisfied. Colored people were dissatisfied. Now, that's not what caused the war. But it kind of was. Dissatisfaction, Shiva energy, demonic energy, people their needs not being satisfied, their desires not being properly addressed. Our desires are divine, and they are coming from step 1. I didn't finish this. Step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, contrast causes you to ask for more. And it just happens. It happens naturally. You don't have to think about it. It's happening for all creatures. As the snail creeps through the leaves at the bottom of the forest, wanting to find what it needs to survive, the forest hears and supplies. Gently, incrementally, over time, there's a gentle energy that is asking and answering, and that is how biology develops. It's not accidental. The desire is calling forth the supply. And over time, that's why a perfect ecosystem always develops, where everyone has within the field everything that they want to eat. It all develops slowly over time, but now human beings, we are in the middle of this, and our configuration sort of highlights how the whole thing works. Because we amplify it and we accelerate it in the way that, and we interfere with it. We do all kinds of things to monkey with it. And it just sort of shows you what it is. It highlights the configuration. It sort of shows you who we are. And you go, oh. And you know why all this happened? The reason why human beings find themselves in the position that they do is because we're genetically modified. Somebody sort of jumped us, gave us a little jump, a little leap. And the leap that they gave us is our neocortex. It's our rational mind. And our rational mind, while on the one hand is a perfect computer and will give us perfect answers, it has to be in alignment with the two selves that we are. And the way that you know that you are in alignment with the two selves that you are is your emotions are in the positive state. But you shouldn't feel mad at yourself for being not in a positive state. It's the way you're designed, in a way. I mean, somebody designed us. We've been genetically modified. Somebody literally designed us. And that's why so many religious traditions have these creation stories. Because somebody created us. Now, we get it confused. Who created us? God created us. Well, God did create us. God is the creator, the great creator of the whole universe. But That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about extraterrestrials having genetically modified us with some sort of CRISPR-like technology, genetic. What do they call the CRISPR editing, genetic editing technology, which fused chromosome number 2. It's two less evolved chromosomes fused together, telomere to telomere, with redundancies on both sides of the equation clipped away, and the result is 76% of the volume of our neocortex, which is our rational thinking mind. This is our physical mind. But our physical mind, so we have our physical brain producing our physical mind, but our physical mind is vibrational. You can measure it on the outside with a magnetoencephalogram. You can measure the electromagnetic field that is being created by your physical brain. From the inside, as you're thinking, you can see what your physical brain is. It's the thoughts that you have choice over, the ones that you have control over. Oh, I think I'm going to think about our trip. I think I'm going to go fix breakfast. I think I'm going to, that one. You can see it from the inside. You can measure it from the outside in a way, but it's just one of your two minds. Your other mind is the great mind, the one that we all share with one another, that one that makes it true there's only one of us here. That is your mind too. It's all of our minds. It's a universal consciousness. We are all there. That's why they call it universal. That is also your mind. And if you do not line your little self up with the big self that we all are, then your thoughts are out of alignment, and your once perfect logical computer is running amok. It is in illogic. And we need to save one another from this condition. How do you save one another from this condition? You don't put them all in rehab, education schools. You help make them all happy, because happy is alignment. If you are satisfied, if you are content, if you are happy, if your needs are met, you are in alignment. Now, if you are in alignment and you want to start using your physical brain, good on you. Do it. Do it and start thinking about things that will help us all, because from your state of alignment, everything you think of is going to help us. Anyway, I'm just saying. And I see that I'm 47 minutes in. Do I want to do this any longer? I'm having a good time. 7:22. I think I'm going to stop. And I know I have not been broadcasting. I've been trying to find myself. I've been having my own step one moments going on. We've got things going on in our own personal family organization, that needed attention. I have to come down off of my freaking, cloud sometimes and mind the store down here. I barely want to be here. I love it up in heaven. It's just so cool up there. And you don't have to die to get there. You can get there in your own mind. I think. Anyway, I think that's where I go when I find the place where my great mind is. I think that's where you go when you die. And depending on how well you've connected where you were to that, you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh, this is just what I thought was going to happen. This is so cool. We are so cool. And the design of us is so cool. And the universe is so cool. And I think that to solve all of our problems on planet Earth, what we need to do is focus on understanding who we are. And from that, then we use all that cool information about how we are and how it works, how we function and what we need, who we are and where we're going, how we're designed, what's 0 point energy, what's this freaking matrix that holds us all together. How is it going to revolutionize technology and energy technology, allowing us to get rid of the one thing that is killing us, and that's fossil fuel. Actually, all of the energy paradigm that we are reaching for right now, be it battery powered or solar or wind or any of the centralized power systems, and a centralized grid of power that is sent down the line to all of us. That whole paradigm is gonna shift. I promise you it's going to. And when it does, the whole world is gonna change. And in mostly good ways. We will have some growing pains. I can imagine them already. I can see what's real on the ground, and I can envision what's coming, and I can see the difference between those two. And we're going to have a come to Jesus moment. We really are. I wouldn't worry about it, but I would get ready for it by asking yourself the question, who am I? Who am I? Who are we? And I think with that lovely thought, I'm going to leave you, because that is the name of the show, Who Am I? Who am I? And the pondering of the answer to that, I think, is the road to all of our solutions. And that is my prayer, that we will find our solutions, find our happy thought, find our peace on earth, find who we really are. There is only one of us here, and we are all in this together, one way or another, I know, but we are all in this together, and yet every one of us has to call our own story. Occupy your own divine autonomy. And until tomorrow, God bless. Do your best. Be good to yourself and one another. That was kind of what Jerry Springer used to say. And as I say, may the source be with you.